What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. If you don't know this already, my name is Ethan Preston, your host here at Preston Outdoors. Today's video is going to be a little bit different compared to the videos you watched in the past. We are going to be fishing offshore. Offshore is pretty relative, just meaning you're not beating the bank. You could be fishing the same depth as you are onshore, but just be offshore. So those are some terms if you're not familiar of. When a guy's referring to fishing offshore, he's just not fishing near or on the bank, but you can still be fishing in the same depth. Meaning if you've got a shell bar, a weed bed, something like that, you could be fishing in 2-3 feet of water, but you're out in the middle of the lake, out in the middle of the reservoir, middle of the river, even in your pond, something like that. So in today's video, what we're going to try and do, I'm going to get the camera over here on the side scan. We're going to get over here in the Humminbird Helix 9 SI unit. We're going to get you over to the side scan, the down scan, and the traditional sonar, and going to kind of show you what we're going to be fishing. Up here in North Dakota, Minnesota, where I fish predominantly, there is a lot of grass. Now, we growing up known it as weeds, but if you get more and more into the bass fishing world, it is grass lakes, stuff like that. This is a natural, more shallower lake in the area, but it's got a lot of grass. So what we're going to be doing is fishing offshore weed beds, a very, very common way to catch bass, especially in the hot summer months. As you can see here, or hopefully you can see it here, we have got that big smoke coming down from Canada. It is hot out, 95 some degrees here with cloud cover, but our water temps here are sitting in about that 78 to 83 degrees depending on the day as our surface temperature. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to drive over, kind of show you what we're fishing. We're going to hop up front and talk about how I would, how we're going to diagnose this and hopefully catch some fish. As you can see here, these fuzzy things right there, that is our weeds. As you can see on the down scan, that is our weeds as well. And we're going across the top here. We'll make it bigger so you can see this. Our traditional sonar is going to show us weeds. But as you can see up in here, all this fuzzy stuff and the dark shadows and everything like that, that is our weeds. You can see creases in there. But what I'm trying to fish and predominantly targeting is the thick weed edge where the weeds drop off and it drops off into deeper water and they stop growing. So as you can see here, we're kind of on top of it. We'll refer back to our map. We're going to start dropping off here shortly. There's a big thick, now there's our weed edge. You're starting to see that. Now the weeds are starting to break up right there. We'll actually pause this here for you. So this is what you have right here. So we are showing our weeds on the down scan and on the traditional sonar, and then all of a sudden you see right here that magical depth in this lake. It's about 13 to 14 feet. The weeds don't get the sunlight they need and they stop growing. Now bass are predominantly, especially largemouth, are more ambush predators, so they're going to tuck their butts right into here and right in here, hide in the shadows and stuff like that, and we'll be targeting the bait fish that are hiding in these areas. So what I went and done, as you can see on the map, is I've put a waypoint all along the edge of the weed bed, so that way I can go back and target cast those waypoints and hopefully we can catch some fish. So if you don't have something with side scan, it can make it a little bit more difficult, but it's not impossible to fish offshore. When I first started doing this, I had basically your traditional GPS graph with traditional sonar on there, and all I would do is crisscross back and forth. It would take twice as long, but you can actually see where your fuzzy weeds drop off to your bare bottom where they stop growing, drop a waypoint, go back and forth, and then you give yourself a rough area to fish. Now with the advancements in technology, obviously we got side scan on here. I don't have a live imaging transducer or even a 360 transducer on my boat. Those tools can definitely be used to speed up the process. So you drop a few waypoints, you go up front, you put your 360 in, you put your live imaging in, stuff like that. That is able to speed up the process of you finding the edge of the weeds. So not only are you not leaning on your waypoints and just fan casting at waypoints, you can actually see where they are, see the indentations, and sometimes even see fish. I don't have that technology on my boat. Most people don't. And if you're just getting into this, you probably don't have it on your boat either. If you do, congratulations, you're a lot farther than I am. But this is gonna be how I break it down and how hopefully we can catch some fish. So that way, until you get to this technology, until I get to this technology, this is how I found to be pretty effective fishing offshore on deeper weed lines. So up front we have our other graph. It's ran with an Ethernet cable between the graph in the back to the graph in the front, so it's actually talking to each other. So all the waypoints that I've marked here in the back when we're side scanning and stuff like that, it talks to the graph in the front. So what we've got here is a 10-inch Berkeley power bait 10-inch worm. I like a bigger weight here, so this might be a little big for some people, even though we're fishing some not so deep water. This is a 1/2 ounce flipping weight from Swagger Tungsten. Okay, we got this on 20-pound Cast King Covert fluorocarbon. Today we got it on my favorite rod that they make so far, the most versatile rod that I feel I have in my arsenal right now. It's the Cast King 7.4 Para G2 rod, and the fastest reel on the market, the Cast King Speed Demon Elite reel. So right now my bait is hung up in the weeds. I don't know if you can see, but my rod tip is bent. Don't always jerk that out of the weeds right away because there could be a fish looking at it. So what I'm doing is shake it a little bit, give it some slack, and it should pop out of there. So now it popped out, we're gonna let it fall to the bottom. But anytime I slowly lift up, I'll actually put a little pressure on that when the rod's bent over. I'll put a little pressure on there and I'll just wait for a split second. A lot of times these fish are in ambush mode, they'll come out and grab it, sit there within its mouth. If you hold it there for a little bit, they'll get uncomfortable and they'll kind of try and eat it and pull back on it, then you know there's a fish on there. Otherwise, I see a lot of people that are doing this. They think it's a weed and you pull it out and all of a sudden, oh my gosh, that was a fish the whole time. That he's just sitting on there with it. So you got to be a little bit patient. You'll get bites doing it, but your hookup ratio and you actually get those fish to come to the boat. Better one. Look at that tub. Look at that tubby thing. Choked it. Choked it. That is what you want to see, ladies and gentlemen. All right. So you just saw me, right in the roof of the mouth. You just saw me rebait up. I was gonna say, don't be surprised as if on your initial cast you get bit and the fish runs with it. Give them time. I didn't give them enough time to pull my worm off. That's a good fish right there. We'll get him back quick and I'll tell you what's going on. Like I was saying, initial pull right along that weed line, made a long cast. Initial pull, felt the fish. Thought he had it good, didn't have it, set the hook, came back with nothing, rebaited up. And a lot of times if you don't sting them and you can remember where you cast it at, pick a tree out, pick a house out, something on shore, or if you're way offshore, pick a, I don't know, a seagull. If you got something, off the trolling motor 3-4 inches or something like that, or there's a weed patch there, pick something and cast back to it. Because a lot of times with this much plastic, if they didn't inhale it enough, they just pulled on the tail. Okay, they pulled on the tail, they pulled it off, and they didn't actually get a hook in them. So that, I'm pretty sure it could have been the same fish. I was in line with a house over there, bombed another cast with another worm back in there, boom, on my second pull, fish grabbed it and took off with it. Who knows it's the same fish, but either way, there must be a group of them there that were fighting over that worm. And then, otherwise you'll fan cast around and you might not find that sweet spot again. Again, like I said, we don't have live imaging. We don't have any kind of 360 or anything on here. So basically I'm going off of feel and visually seeing with my eyes where I was casting at and using basically my down imaging to see if I'm on top of the weeds, and my bubbles or my waypoints that we mark to make sure that I'm not right on top of them. I'm sitting off them just a little bit. Look at that fish. Look at that. Switched up worms, went to a natural color. This is a Preston Outdoors. I got my own lineup of plastics. I'll tell you about here in a little bit. Look at that. Right in the roof of the mouth. This is a thinner profile, 10-inch worm here. It's thinner. This is green pumpkin with red flake. Thinner profile, comes to the weeds a lot better, makes that half-ounce weight look way too big. But there we go, this little thin style ribbon tail worm. Just flipped it next. I've been making long casts, and just the way we're set up here next to the weed line, if I was flipping a emergent weed line where you could see, so I just flipped it out in front of the boat, and the initial drop, I lifted up afterwards and it felt like a little ticking sensation. Well, that's them where you saw he was hooked, where those grabbers are at the top of their mouth, and he was pushing that bait in. That's why I felt the ticking sensation, so I decided to set the hook, and sure enough. So I hope you guys learned something. I hope this is another way for you to look at deeper weed lines. This has been very successful for me over the years. There are a bunch of other baits that I like to throw. I just thought we'd highlight the worm. And use your down scan, your traditional sonar, your side scan, whatever you have, and use it to your advantage. I've come out here with way less technology on this lake, other lakes around there. I've gone on other people's boats. I've been out in pontoons where I don't even have a depth finder, and you use Navionics on your phone and just kind of find where the weed line is and remember how deep it is and drop an anchor and drift off and do the worm thing. It just takes a little bit longer, but you can definitely do it just because you don't have spot lock or a side scan unit, anything like that. So go ahead and try it. If you guys like these videos where we're breaking down water for you, make sure you like the video. Leave me a comment. I'd really like to hear from you guys what else fishing wise that you'd like to see broken down. But yeah, it's in the midsummer here. Before you know it, it'll be fall and the fish will be moving back shallow. But until then, we're going to be after some fish. So thanks for watching. Tune in next time to Preston Outdoors.